Alright, what's up YouTube? So in this video, we're going to be taking a 4-foot doorway in our house and making it into a normal sized doorway and adding a shelf in for the remainder of the space. For the back of the shelf, I'll use an old headboard from a bed. This has been sitting in the corner collecting dust, so it's a perfect opportunity to use it. Also, the grooves are similar to the trim in our house. I'll go around and remove all the hardware along with the dowels. I'll set the table saw and rip the headboard twice, ensuring that it's parallel. I'll use the miter saw to square up one of the ends. I have to flip the headboard over because it's wider than the maximum capacity of my saw. The headboard is not quite as tall as the doorway, so I'll cut a piece of MDF that I can join to the bottom to make the back piece large enough. After cutting it to length with the miter saw, I'll rip it down with the table saw. Man, I am ready to stop doing all these projects with MDF. This stuff makes a mess. And right now I have a dust collector, but since my since our shop doesn't have great power, we only have a certain amount of amps coming out here. I can't run the table saw and the dust collector without tripping a breaker. So come springtime, we got to run some heavier power out here, and then I can start collecting some of this dust. I should really probably be wearing a mask. Even though I have my vent zeroed in pretty well, I like to check it with a tape measure periodically to make sure it's still accurate. I can now start ripping the sides. For this project, we didn't go out and buy any new materials, so we used the MDF we already had. For the sides, we will use 2 pieces to make the full length. I'll square them up on the miter saw first. We'll use pocket holes and glue to fasten the ends together. We quickly realize that pocket holes alone will not be strong enough. We decide to reuse the dowels from the headboard for extra rigidity. The joint is now nice and strong. I can now cut the sides to their final length. I'll set up a stop to ensure all the shelves are the exact same length, and then I'll cut them all. Now I'll make a very simple drill guide to lay out all the holes. Patrick marks the location of each shelf. With the shelf locations marked out, I can use the drill guide to put all the holes in the right place. I'll now go back and countersink every hole. I'll glue and screw these 2 pieces together in an L shape to make the bottom. I can now fasten the sides to the bottom. I'll clamp them both to the workbench before screwing them together to ensure they're lined up correctly.
Next, we'll screw in the shelves, starting at the bottom and working our way to the top. I'll check each one with a square as I go to make sure everything is properly put together. I'll make another L for the top and screw that into place as well.
Alright, so last night we made pretty good progress. We got the base of the shelf all done, the majority of it. Now I'm just going to flip it over and put this back side on. This is just an old headboard piece from my bed. So I'm going to just flip this over, put some glue on it, and then just use my nail gun to nail it down.
I'll use a hand plane to knock down any high spots. The smaller piece that I cut for the back is 3/4 inch material, while the headboard is 5/8. So I'll trim it down on the table saw so that they are both even. I'll put some glue down and also on the edge before nailing the piece. Now I'll rip down a 2x4 to make a mounting piece for the door hinges. I'll plane it down to ensure that it's flat and to get it to the right thickness. I'll use my router to carve out the grooves for the hinges.
Well, those didn't exactly come out great. The last one came out pretty good. It's important to remember when you're doing stuff like this that you can always go back and take more. I seem to have forgotten that when I just went through there. But they're going to work just fine. It was going to be better than just screwing this to the wall. So I think it's going to be. I think we're going to be okay with these. I wish they were a little less sloppy, but that's all right.
I'll now rip some 1/8 inch material that we'll use for trim. I'll rip down the remainder of the 2x4 to make more trim with. I'll use a roundover bit in my router to make some 1/4 round. The shelf is ready to be installed. We will use door shims and a level to ensure the shelf is plumb, and then we'll screw it to the wall. I'll now use a combination square to mark the wall and center the mounting piece before fastening it. I'll hold it in place with a few nails to start. Now I can drill the countersink bit and then screw it to the wall. I'll make a simple box to go above the door. While Patrick uses putty to fill the nail holes, I will mount the box above the door. I'll now screw the door in place just to make sure that it fits. I can now begin going around and nailing the trim around all the edges. Here, I will measure the location of the latch and transfer it to the shelf. I will put a piece of tape around the drill bit so I can drill the correct depth without drilling through the cabinet. I'll start with 4 holes in the corners and then chisel out the rest. I'll now run a bead of caulk around all the trim, and then smooth it out with my finger. After letting the caulk and putty dry, it's now time for paint. The shelf is complete, and now it's time to clean up. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought of this project in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe for more weekly content, and I'll have a new video up next Tuesday.